How are you finding the obviously you come at it from a therapist point of view, and you've got your co-design team in place that are helping you from the therapist point of view. How are you finding the parents and children? How are they responding to Theratrak?
They're really excited. That's the best way I can think about it. They generally get really excited that something is going to be easier for them, that it's going to be in their pocket, that it's going to make it easier for them to communicate with their therapist, and sort of aligns better with how they do things. I know that sounds a bit funny, but rather than having that paper prescription that sits on my fridge that I forget about, it's in my pocket. And it means that, if we go to grandma's house, I've still got my phone in my pocket, or if I go to dad's house, I've still got the phone in my pocket. I can still log in from wherever I need to be. And I think that's really important for parents, is to feel confident with what they're doing. So as soon as that happens, they get super excited. And I think that's helped us sort of motivate, obviously, therapists to switch to the digital and learn that digital is not that scary, and it can actually help them with their workflow.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear. I think that's how I relate to Theratrak. I think you've built a digital health therapeutic framework that allows the practitioner to be able to design the therapy that is most aligned with the needs of that individual. And that's a pretty special achievement, because most of the digital therapeutics that are evolving are actually quite specific and structured. But to actually have achieved a model that the therapist can actually project onto it, the therapy that is precisely needed for this particular participant, I think is very understated in your marketing, and I think you should consider speaking more about that, because I think that's really the fine art of digital health therapy going forward. It's being able to actually tailor it and do what's called in the pharmaceutical industry, you often hear this term precision medicine, and it's termed precise because they're looking at genetics or other microscopic elements that define the intervention. But when we sort of think about digital health and digital health therapeutics, that's also got a target in terms of what it's trying to achieve. It's not looking at a cellular layer with a chemical intervention. It's actually using movement, it's using behavior, it's using education, it's using habitualization of better, more optimized lifestyle and behaviors that actually achieve the health goal. So I think it's a real credit to you, Laura. That's the way I relate to it anyway. I think, well, I guess I could ask you this question. You've come from occupational therapy, but Theratrak, is it being used exclusively by occupational therapists, or are you finding other therapists? You mentioned one earlier that you thought was right, out of the box in terms of who you originally designed for, but what does the network of users look like now?
So it's funny that you actually say that. So at the moment, we're actually re-architecturing the platform, if that's the right way of putting it, because what we found, we had all these occupational therapists using the platform, and then I started to get speech therapists and physios and craniosacral therapists doing the thing that I didn't want them to do with the platform, which was hacking around the platform to make it work for themselves. And so we then found out that, well, I mean, I kind of knew this already. I work in a multidisciplinary team, but we found out that multiple disciplines wanted to use the platform. And so the next part that we're sort of in the process of, and as of this morning, I got the first test run of it, so I'm going to have a play around with it today, but building Theratrak into this multidisciplinary platform that, I guess, one of the problems I probably didn't sort of touch on before is that obviously we have time, but communication between care teams is another part that is a bit of a tricky thing for therapists, right? You're working with a participant one-on-one, but most kids with a disability have 2, 3, hopefully not 4, but might have 4 therapists that they're working with across a week. And those therapists need to talk, and those therapists need to know what home programs are being sent, what communication's been sent to the parent. And so what we're in the process of building now is the other multidisciplinary ends of of Theratrak, which is building it into this virtual multidisciplinary team platform. However, I probably, and this might be a call out to some of your users, I will be looking for some speech therapists, physios and craniosacral therapists and other allied health professionals to help me build out some activities on the platform, because I don't think I should be writing speech therapy activities. That's not my profession, but I know there's probably other therapists out there that would love to contribute to the platform. So yeah, maybe that might be an internal call out to your users to see if there's anyone out there who'd be interested.
Oh, look, most definitely. And if anybody did want to, how would they, what's your preferred way of getting in touch with you? Is it just through the platform or? Super
easy. You can connect with us through our website. So www.theratrak with a K, no CK.co, or either way, they can always email me. I'm laura@theratrak.co. Super easy, or Facebook or Instagram. I'm always on those platforms as well, or even LinkedIn. That's another one. Name the social.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we'll put some of those links in the show notes for the podcast. I guess looking forward, just getting back to kind of where we started, the vision. What's the world going to look like in terms of therapy and digital health therapy from your point of view? Perhaps I'll keep it around the occupational therapy view, even though Theratrak is expanding into other allied health therapies as well. But 5 to 10 years, what's the world going to look like if Theratrak has its way?
Theratrak has its way. That'd be crazy. That'd be awesome. Be amazing. I think from my side, I think you're going to have two things. One, you're going to have parents that know or feel empowered to know what they need to do at home and feel like they can be more independent with their therapy strategies and things like that. Hopefully we can prove some outcomes and do some clinical studies and actually prove that something like Theratrak can improve those outcomes. We did some research at the start of the year and we found that all of our users said it improved their engagement, but I really want to see it improve outcomes. And I think as well, connecting those care teams that might not work together. I mean, telehealth has become such a big thing now during COVID. It's always been a big thing, but helping people, I guess, use telehealth and use all these remote therapy solutions so that, the therapist can become almost like a coach, right? We're there to support, we're there to drive you, we're there to help you get to your goals. But at the end of the day, the participant is the one that's following through with the recommendations, that's implementing the recommendations at home. And hopefully at the end of the day, you've got these kids that have awesome independent lives. I mean, as an occupational therapist, we want to see them grow up, finish school, get a job, become independent humans. And I think if Theratrak can help that early intervention model tick over a little bit more, or get kids more access to therapy who might not get access to therapy normally, then the other side of that is you have an adult workforce that's amazing, that contributes, that's inclusive, that's you have all these kids that might not have had an opportunity to be that included and independent participant later on in life, that can go out and do all those amazing things that, as someone who doesn't have a disability is privileged enough to be able to do.
So does so that kind of to me implies that there is a shift in the therapeutic model going forward, where we end up in a place where there's more cooperation between different therapists who happen to work independently of each other, but happen to be aligned around the interests of a participant or a shared client, so to speak. So that kind of teamwork, sharing the multidisciplinary, not necessarily being limited to whether the disciplines are within the one organisation. So much more cooperation as a healthcare system. I love that idea. That I think is very progressive, and I think it's I think there's so much value and benefit that could be unlocked with that mindset, because it's very hard building a big business, to try and create all the disciplines under one roof and employ it and organize it and take the risk, whether it's financial risk, whether it's the building the systems and the quality frameworks that are needed. It takes a long time to actually build those types of businesses, whereas individual therapists can be more aligned with their own lifestyle choices and live and work from different locations. We're hearing a lot about the digital nomad at the moment. And today it's kind of been an idea where a really cool graphic designer can backpack around the world and still earn money, by jumping on a computer and designing a few logos for people and kind of pay their way. That's kind of one rendition of, I guess, the digital nomad. But I wonder whether that kind of works for healthcare over time, where we no longer need to necessarily live and work in the city in order to be healthcare providers. What are your thoughts?
That would be amazing. I think the digital nomad thing, I think with healthcare, one of the cool things, if you become a digital nomad or a healthcare nomad, let's call them those, the people that you could help. And I guess that's why we get into being in healthcare, right? We get into being health professionals because we want to help people. If there's an ability for you to, jump borders or jump boundaries or jump countries because of digital health, that can then help someone who doesn't have necessarily the access to your speciality as a healthcare practitioner, that's awesome. And in my head, that just makes sense. Like, it's just all these, there's things that stop us from doing it now, but I don't see why in the future everything else is global. Healthcare and preventative medicine and intervention early on could happen, and it'd be really cool.
I think so.
I'm a big dreamer.
Likewise, so am I. I mean, it was sort of inspired during my uni days, which feels like a long time ago now. Early days for internet, I was kind of thinking, imagine if you could just live anywhere on the planet and you could still, kind of find a way to have a, professional income source and kind of, fund the essentials. A really extreme example of that would be the off-the-gridders, who live very simply, in terms of organically and, closer to nature and all the rest of it. And but inevitably, that money's needed, and that's kind of part of the world that we live in. So having telehealth and having digital health kind of concepts to be able to access. So if that person requires pediatric support, for example, occupational therapy, and let's say they live an hour and a half out of the city, access solved, right? Because there's internet there. So that's really easy. And all of a sudden it starts to propagate this kind of opportunity for the community to live anywhere they like, and be more distributed, but still not forego the essentials and the things that are really important to maintaining their health going forward. And I think that's a massive opportunity for the allied health community, mental, physical, nutritional health and wellness. It's to actually kind of recontextualize the relationship with clients by building in digital health thinking and actually designing for an evolving world. For sure, now there's a lot of people living in cities, but who knows? Maybe a side effect of the lockdowns would be that people want to leave the city and want to live somewhere else where they feel safer or free to live their lives. So who knows? But I think for sure what's happening is that the population's growing and we're getting more distributed. And I think, healthcare is easier to distribute now by using digital health thinking. So I think that's a great vision, Laura. It certainly appeals to me.